DJ Event Planner, Electro Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching.
Hello. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Music Show, where we occasionally talk about music. Hope I find you all well this beautiful Halloween, or whenever they're going to go ahead and post this video. It is currently June 28th, 2022. Of course, we have, as always, Howie, the producer. We have Jay. And tonight, John is joining us, too.
Sure.
From Boston.
How you doing?
Oh, Doug.
We can talk about all kinds of stuff tonight, but one thing that I wanted to just throw out there before we get into music stuff is that I took an unusual gig yesterday. Did you guys happen to see the video? Howie, I know you saw it.
I did.
Jay didn't see it.
No.
So here's the situation. And they've hired me for 2 hours to play outside in the tent to facilitate all of this and then go home. It's the first time I've ever booked a dinner-only gig. Have you guys ever done a dinner-only gig like that?
Once.
Yeah?
Same thing. There was a band, and they wanted to do everything up front.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I believe I was there like 7 to 9 and then done.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, you can take off. And the band brought me in because they're like, we can't make announcements. We take breaks every like 40 minutes. They take 20 an hour.
Uh-huh.
So I played their two breaks, and then also introed everyone, did the toast, did the first dance, father, daughter, mother, son. I think cake cutting on the second break. We like literally killed everything in those 40 minutes.
No, I've done that before where I've worked with a band and I've played the band breaks. That I have done.
Right.
I'm in the same room with them. I'm running off the same board they're running off of. Now they've got this big PA and I'm just in, channel 12 or whatever.
So you're not doing their breaks. You're actually playing just for 2 hours, then leaving? Are you doing any special stuff?
Yeah, I'm in a marquee or a tent outside.
Okay.
The band is inside where the reception is going to be happening. So I'm going to be in a completely different area. I will have no contact with the band at all or their PA or anything else. I don't have to coordinate with these people at all.
Oh, right. That's awesome. And you'll still be able to leave when the band starts because you're not pinned in underneath them.
Yeah. When dinner's over, I go.
That's awesome.
That's it.
So you're taking a full wedding and cutting it down for the DJ responsibilities to 2 hours. Then the band's just going to jam.
I have a question though. You're in a separate area, so they're eating in a separate area,
yes.
And then reception dancing is in a separate.
Yeah,
correct.
So all you have to do is unplug your XLR out, and bye.
No, it sounds like he has to have his own sound.
No, I'm bringing my setup. No lights. I'll be bringing my own PA.
Oh, I thought you said you were plugged into channel 12 of their system.
No. I said I've done events before where I've
okay.
worked with a band, where I've been in the same room with them and I've been in their board, but this is different. Mm-hmm. This is a completely separate thing from the band thing. Different room. You might as well call it a different venue because it's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
This is a first for me.
Have you heard of it before out there? Is this a new trend?
This is a first. I haven't even heard of it before, but it makes sense when you think about it.
I've done what Jay's done,
Sure.
during the breaks, but never I would kill for an event like that.
I'd be mentally prepped just in case the band doesn't come through and you might be going a little longer than you figure. You might be
Well, when you're working with a band, it's a little different because, well, I know when I've done it before, and I've done it a few times. It's been a while. I've got some old gig logs. I used to work with this one particular band. They always bring me in. It was nice because you would coordinate with the band. So if the band said, okay, we're going to be playing primarily rock. It's like, okay, well then I'll focus on anything that you're not playing. I'll play Tone Loc Wild Thing, Cha-Cha Slide, those kind of things. So I'll compliment you. I'll do what you can't do. And I won't step on you. If you're doing Sweet Home Alabama, I'm not playing Sweet Home Alabama. So give me your set list.
Yeah.
And then whenever they do break, okay, here's our opportunity to do something fun that the band can't do. And the band was good, had a lot of energy. People responded well to it. But this is just a completely different thing. So my responsibilities here are all the responsibilities I'd normally have at every wedding, i.e. the hard part, which is what I call it. It's still tons of timeline creation. I've still got to figure out these names of the wedding party, bring them in order, line them up drunk, figure out how to get everybody seated and settled at 6:00 on the nuts when dinner starts. And I know Jay does it different in California or at the venue that he does, where they do cake like later in the evening as like a thing later in the evening. They interrupt dancing to do cake. We don't do that. We do cake as dessert. So I've got to get the cake cut. I've got to make sure catering is going to have this prepared for serving for dessert. Some background music, facilitate toasts and speeches, teach a bunch of amateurs how to use a microphone. But yeah, it's a 2-hour gig, man, in and out. And it's a first. As far as the trend, no, this is the first time I've seen it. It would be interesting if
Never
this becomes a trend. Yeah.
I had a client last year bring a band and call me after they hired me like 2 months out and say, we have a band we love and they're going to play cocktail. I said, okay, so I'll do ceremony, prelude ceremony. Then the band will start. It was a 3-piece band. They were terrible. I played out of tune the whole time.
Yeah.
Then dinner music, I'll do. Dinner was like an hour and a half with toasts, maybe an hour 45. Then when we come out, she's like, then I really want the band to play for like the first hour. And then you take over. And I'm going over the timeline. I'm like, well, maybe the band could play for 45. Well, they came out at 8. Wedding ends at 10. The band starts like 8:15 after we do the cake, first dance, father, daughter, mother, son. And then we go into the dancing, which I like better than stopping dancing to do cake. I'd rather do it at the end of the meal like dessert. And that way the people that aren't dancing can eat the cake and you don't have to stop in 20 minutes.
Right.
Cake. I do dislike that protocol. But the band went on at like 8:15. Well, nobody was really dancing, but the bride and groom were into it. And I asked for their set list early like you did. So I didn't play any of their, and they played all weird random stuff.
Sure.
But they literally played, it's like 9:20. And I look at the bride, I'm like, do you want me to play it all? Like, or do you just want the band to keep going? Because I'm already paid. Like at this point, I don't care.
Right.
She's like, no, you could play some. So I went on at 9:20 and literally 30 minutes later go, last song, everybody. Played for 30 minutes, hour and a half of background.
Wow.
And 30 minutes of dancing. And just literally played a minute and a half of every song, like all these, spin DJs. And I was like, this is the worst setup ever. But
How about you?
I don't think I would like that trend unless it pays really well. Because the downside is you're giving up a night that you could have done a 7 or 8 hour wedding for X.
Yeah, here's
by
the
giving
catch.
up 2 hours for Y.
Here's the catch. I didn't discount it.
So you just charge regular rate?
Had to. I told her, I said, hey, look, as much as I'd love to give you a break for this, it's up to 6 hours, 2 hours, but regardless, I have expenses and I'm giving up a Saturday.
Yeah.
It's like, unfortunately, I have to charge this. I can't give you a break. Well, let me discuss it. I got a text message back about 2 hours later. Yeah, we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
I want to send you 50%. I was like, okay. So that was her choice on how she handled that. But yeah, I didn't I can't. I mean, like you said, Jay, you're giving up an evening. Now, they want a band.
Yeah.
But this kind of goes to what I was saying before about it's the hard part. It really is the hard part. Yeah, the band the band is talented in their own way, but there are things that we do, or I do anyway, in my market that have value. I had comments on a video I did about this, and I need to go and review more of them. My follow-up video, I wanted to kind of try to address them all, because there were some people in the comment section who said, why are you worried about when all these things start on time? Why do you care how smooth the stuff goes? This is not your problem. Like, well, hold on a minute. Yeah, it is. And that's why I make what I make, because it is my problem. And I'm expected to do these things in my market. In fact, anybody who calls themselves a wedding DJ in my market is expected to have a handle on this stuff.
Right. Because you have the mic.
Well, not only that, but I've seen it 1,000 times.
Right. But I had a coordinator the other night, and the ceremony, the photographer and the videographer commented, and even the dad of the groom commented afterwards. The photographer and videographer knew I played the entrance for the bridesmaids and the groomsmen 4 times, because the coordinator waited until they got all the way down to the ceremony site to get the next person, which I've never seen before. So I had to keep replaying the song. And the dad goes, let me ask you something. I was like, yeah. He goes, was it me, or did you play that song for the wedding party like 4 times in a row? I said, no, the coordinator doesn't know her job. He goes, I was wondering what was taking so long.
Say hi to Ollie, by the way. Sorry, little interruption here. Yeah.
But you're right. It's the hard stuff that we end up going for.
That's a
yeah. Ask me why him and I are buddies.
Yeah,
look at this. Okay,
hey, buddies.
Stevie's sitting next to me, so she brought him downstairs because Chico was being, as we discussed earlier, cabron numero uno. So, opposed to cabron numero dos, which is this guy right here.
right.
It's cool. He likes space.
I mean, if I've got a 5-hour minimum on the weekends, I got
good option.
by an agency for a July wedding for 4 hours, and the client sent me the paperwork tonight, and I'm playing for 2.5 hours. I'm literally starting at 7:00 with grand entrance, toast, 8:00 first dance, father, daughter, mother, son, cake, and then open dance till 9:30. And I'm like, and I sent back to the agency that brought me in. I'm like, my paperwork doesn't change. They're like, no, the client's fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm getting my full fee. They're like, oh yeah, no, you're getting your money.
Right. It just, don't get it confused.
You'll know this. I'm dealing with the 2 mothers and the coordinator on the phone. I won't meet the bride and groom till I get there. Do you want to guess what friend of ours probably knows them?
Help me out.
We have a friend who has something to do with lighting. He probably knows them.
Okay.
You know what I'm driving at?
Sure.
Hence why I'm dealing with the mothers and the coordinator, and I won't even meet the bride and groom till I get there.
Well, they're cool people. They're cool people to deal with. They're cool people to deal with.
Oh no, they're totally cool people.
Yeah,
I've done 3 of these, and they've all been awesome. But I know
talking about Mormons, by the way. But yeah,
Yes.
they're very, very nice people.
But I know one thing about the bride and groom. I was already told they're very young. So I'm guessing.
Of course they are. They're Mormons.
But here's the best part. Now I know why the dancing segment is so short, because they can't get to the hotel fast enough.
Right. Yeah. Don't let this go too long. Yeah.
No. So I might even offer an early release. You guys want to bounce
maybe we'll do a show on this sometime, but yeah, Jay's on point with that. Those dances don't go long.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And I saw the 2.5 hours, and they said, we'd like you to meet with the mothers and the coordinator. It dawned on me, they've got to be. So I reached out, and I'm like, hey, do you guys know anything about the families? He's like, what do you mean? I go, they Mormon? He goes, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, just a guess.
Just a shot in the dark.
Just a guess. The toast are by the 2 dads, not the wedding
It's
party.
not much different than a Baptist wedding. They no dancing at all, and they just 2.5, 3 hours. They're gone.
I did a 350 person 7-day Adventist, and the bride and groom kept saying, yeah, we don't think there'll be a lot of dancing, but our friends and we're going to party. I'm like, good.
I remember you telling me about this one. Yeah.
We did the toast, and I had to go inside of this old castle, and I got inside, and I'm waiting and waiting and wait. I'm like, everyone join us inside for the bride and groom's first dance, husband and wife. I come back outside after 10 minutes. There's maybe 30 people. And I'm looking, and everyone else, it was like a Coke commercial from the 70s. Everyone's just
walking away.
And then like 30 people came inside. And the dad said to me, he goes, yeah, the elder allowed this. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they couldn't see me dance with my daughter. And I told him how important it was. And he goes, you understand how much sin there is in dance? And he goes, but it's my daughter. He goes, I'll allow it. And then he left. And everyone followed him out.
Well, seeing how we're already on the topic, and we talked about this little shorty I'm doing here, why don't we talk about some cultural events that are a little unique, because we're already there. And I mean, Jay mentioned the Seventh-day Adventists, talked about the Mormon weddings where they typically end early. Yeah, and that's okay.
Hotel.
But the Mormon weddings, they're going to dance.
Oh, they're going to party.
They're dancers. Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
drinkers.
Not drinkers,
They
but
dance.
dancers. Yeah. Absolutely.
I had the wedding right February of 2020. I think I told you. It kept getting sold to me. It was through another company, and it's like, they're very religious, no alcohol. They're very religious, no alcohol. I get there, and it's obvious when the bride and groom arrive. They're like, we love EDM and fun music. I'm like,
Sure.
Real EDM? They're like, yeah. So I'm playing like all EDM for dancing along with regular stuff. But I go in, and the coordinator's like, I don't know if this is going to go the distance. There's no drinking. I meet the bride and groom, and they go, we're ending at 10, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, good, because we're all going down the street to like O'Malley's bar. I'm like, there's no alcohol. She's like, yeah, that's a family thing. She's like, there's like 30 of us out of the 200. We're going straight to the bar. We've already been drinking in the car. I'm like, oh. But when they came inside, it was like long toasts, a lot of, a normal wedding toast is 3 or 4 minutes. I think in a religious environment, it becomes 10 minutes because they've got to add the God angle. And it's something as a DJ you need to be prepared for.
Can I share this with you?
Sure.
Our mutual friend, Jay, clarified this for me. And I already kind of knew it to be true. Apparently, New Order, Blue Monday, and Bizarre Love Triangle are LDS youth dance staples.
Really?
Yes.
No kidding.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. Think Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The 80s alternative, they are LD and LDS, for anybody watching who doesn't know, is Latter-day Saints, the Mormons.
Yes.
Those types of songs are youth dance staples. They will kill at your event.
Perfect.
They will kill. You will get if you don't play them, you'll get requests for them. But keep that in mind. Go down that road, and that's a good road to go down.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices down that road.
Any Depeche Mode, any New Order, that vibe. That vibe.
Personal Jesus may not be on the list. I'm just saying.
Maybe not. I'm thinking more like just can't get enough or enjoy the silence.
Yeah,
those kind of things. Anything
Blasphemous
New Order.
Rumors. That's
they dig it, but maybe you do something else.
I do something else.
The Cure, Just Like Heaven, is probably fine. I mean,
well, you know what? On the same topic, my wedding the other night, they were going to get married in 2020. Obviously, they postponed, moved it to 2022. And about 4 months ago, her dad died, the bride's father. And that was a big thing for this wedding. And I'm playing my dinner set of John Mayer and Jason Mraz and all that. And one of the tracks I'd thrown in was Daughters by John Mayer. And I ended up skipping over it. Do you ever think of tracks as, could this be a sensitivity thing? Could this be like I said, I mean,
Sure.
I'm half joking, but if I'm doing an LDS wedding, I'm not going to play Your Own Personal Jesus, even if they love Depeche Mode.
Or Dear God by XTC or...
Dear God, songs I can skip.
I heard today, by the way.
Anything from the Orgasmo soundtrack, probably just...
Stop it. Stop it.
Just saying.
Stop it.
Just saying. Well, I'm not going with him anyway. I guarantee I'm not inviting
stop it. But yeah, I do...
It's not a censorship thing. I think it's
it's a matter of
things and go, this isn't going to play. I don't want to upset somebody.
Like maybe if someone's dad just died, you don't play "Gone Daddy Gone" by the Violent Femmes. Maybe you don't do that.
Right. But also, since it's her dad playing "Daughters" by John Mayer, I could see it not going the way I wanted. It's a beautiful song.
It is.
But
it could be a trigger. Yeah.
It's got to
set somebody off. Yeah.
Yeah. You should probably be sensitive to that kind of stuff. Just,
Sure.
use some common sense on it. And then on the other hand, the wedding I did last week, they were all about the heavy drama stuff. His mother had died, and they just couldn't wait to bring up more stuff about that. I was thinking to myself, let's address it and move on. But all night long, it was something in tribute to, we want to present you with a gift. The dress his mother bought to wear to this wedding that she didn't make it to. It's like, oh my God. Some people dig that. Some people dig that drama stuff.
Yeah.
Some people just want to have fun and not make it all about that, not make it a second memorial service. Some people do. I guess it just depends on who you're working with,
Well, and I think that the big trigger at any wedding for that is going to be the toast. That's when it's going to get brought up.
You would think.
And it was the other night, and the toasts were very heartfelt. There was a lot of crying, and I think they were prepared for it.
Yeah.
But then the groom spoke, and then they started crying. And just, the downside is the DJ is you oftentimes have to follow this.
It's my belief that, there is an elephant in the room. It needs to be addressed.
Right.
And, it gets addressed. And once it's addressed,
the sooner the better, real early on.
Once it is addressed, we can move on. Now, Stevie, who's sitting right next to me right now, can't see her. She's off camera.
Hi, Stevie.
Hello.
She says hello. She did something at her wedding that I thought was cool. You know that my father and I were close. Stevie and my father were also incredibly close. They had a special bond. Like he was the one who babysat her when I was working, when she was a little tiny. As soon as she was able to, be home and we were able to go back to work and her mother was able to go back to work, Dad was her caregiver while we were at work. And she grew up, out there. She kind of lived out of 3 houses as a kid, her mother's place, my place, and my parents' place. So her father and my father and her had a real special relationship. Well, my father passed away a year before they got married, and he would have loved it. He knew Eris; they were close. So what Stevie did in tribute to my father, and nobody knew unless they knew. It was a private thing. It wasn't something that we told everybody about. We made him deal with it. My father wore flannel shirts like all the time, like around the house. That was his thing. He put a white t-shirt on and he put a flannel on. And he had the same flannel shirts for probably since the day they were married. I mean, they never changed, There was a green plaid one. What Stevie did was she took that flannel shirt and she made the pillow for the pallbearer to carry the rings with. Now, everybody who knew my father knew that color. I mean, you can't, it's like, oh my gosh, that is Dad's flannel. What if you didn't know? You didn't know.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
but that is an awesome
classy.
idea.
she made it herself. She actually made me one. I have it upstairs. So I have a little pillow as well. She has one. I have one. But that was cool. I mean, that was a way to pay tribute without being anybody's face about it. And he, his presence was there. Something was there representing him. There were other things. There were other little subtle things, but only they knew about it. But they didn't make it everybody's thing they had to kind of deal with. That's how she handled it. And I thought it was a great way to handle it. Other people, maybe they want to do something a little more dramatic. And then sometimes, as Jay's saying, and I'm with him 100% on this, maybe we don't deal with it at all. Maybe we do something else this day because it's the day of celebration. And we skip those songs. They're going to be sensitive.
Yeah.
And we try to consider, maybe this is inappropriate considering the circumstance. Kind of knowing your client's situation, if a parent has recently passed or whatever the case might be, you be sensitive to it. Being culturally or just sensitive, period, is a good thing. Culturally sensitive, as we were
have
discussing.
a lot more control, and you were saying about wedding DJs knowing the protocol. I mean, as I'm sure you guys do, every client I've ever met with, I'm explaining to them how much the flow of the night is important and how much impact our planning, as well as what we as the DJ do that night, affects that. It's understanding you're going to have weddings where something is brought up that's very touching and sad and tearful, and you have to then say something. You're the next on the microphone or you're bringing the group somewhere else. You just got to kind of play it by ear sometimes. Don't have a plan and don't discount it. Don't be like, all right, party people. Like, dude, what the bride was just in hysterics crying. Like, I don't know if I'd open with like celebration, but be cognizant of you can get control of the wedding back. You just got to do it a little slow sometimes.
Right.
No.
I'm with you on that too.
Yeah.
You don't know until okay. What you had said earlier, where you had, well, at the beginning of what you said a lot of things in your last riff. It was good. I know, but the first thing you said was you have to explain to clients the importance of the flow of the evening.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was so cool about what I'm doing in August with this 2-hour dinner only event. They already knew what I could do. Like they already knew the importance of the DJ and his role or my role or her role or whoever the DJ happens to be in making this happen in a good, timely manner. They already knew that, which was encouraging. Usually you're trying to sell this to people. Didn't have to. They looked for me because they had a problem they needed solved.
Mm-hmm.
And they paid for it. It was valuable to them. So I don't know. Maybe there's hope for the world.
You got a problem?
I hope so.
Yes, I'll solve it. Check out the hook.
While Jay revolves it.
See?
That's it. You can keep them on that timeline and make it all nice and smooth and then hand them over to the band and your work is done.
It's the fact that you're not plugged into their system or in the same room that's the magic. Because you can bounce. Like if you're set up next to the band, it's a little bit awkward to have you suddenly start lugging trips in and out on rock and roll cars versus, hey, everyone, you've got to head in there now. The music drops and all of a sudden 2 minutes after the last person walks in, you're like, whoosh. Yeah. That's the cherry on top of that Sunday.
Knock it out and boogie.
Yeah.
So and it was funny.
I'm guessing you'll be gone in 20 minutes.
She says this lady actually said to me, it was a mom who called me and hired me for this. She said, yeah, so you'll be out of there at 7:30. So if like there's a rave or something you want to go to afterward, you could go.
Another event.
Lady, do you know how old I am? I'm probably older than you. My God.
A rave you want to go to?
Yeah, like a rave or a club or some party you want to go to, you totally can.
Some abandoned warehouse or something. There's something going on.
That's what's on my mind when I leave a wedding. Is where's the rave?
You've been around long enough, Brian. I bet you've done that. Have you ever done a wedding and then had a club gig afterwards? I have DJs that have done that. They've left weddings and gone.
I've got gig logs where I've left weddings and I've done sets at clubs. Yeah. I've done it.
Where they're like, I'm going on at midnight at a club. My wedding ends at 10. I'm like, really?
I've totally done that.
Yeah, I'm playing till 2. I'm like,
done that.
I did one wedding that ended at 8:00 at night, and I went right to a block party, if that counts.
Nice.
Well, I used to do the car show.
2 gigs. I think that's awesome when you have a gig after.
What I did was I leapfrogged because back then I had help. So I had people set up the block party. All I had to do was get my truck and drive there. And then the setup crew went and grabbed my stuff from the wedding and I did the block party. And so I got really lucky to have, good crew.
When I used to do Grand Geneva at Club Evolve way back 100 years ago, all summer long, I did a car show on Monday nights. So the car show ended at, I think, 8. And I went on at the club at 9. So I would break down, do the car show, break down, and go to the club. So I double dip that day. That was my double header Monday. How many people have 2 gigs on a Monday? I felt like a rock star there all summer long.
Yeah, on a Monday. Wow.
It's totally
pretty special. Yep.
I think I did that. Cool. Did that 2 years in a row like that, maybe 3. I don't remember, but yeah, I've done it. But the wedding thing, the wedding ends early enough. It's like, let's go to the club, especially when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then I used to occasionally go to Hot Water afterward and jump on and do a late night set or something.
My fear would always be and one of the reasons I stopped accepting 2 gigs a day. Granted, I don't get a lot of, the ceremony's at 10 a.m. and it ends at 2. Because that's the one you want. Because then your next one starts at 5. So you've got that window to take your time.
Yeah.
But I did it a few times, and one of them was supposed to end at 2, and they wanted to extend. And I was like, I can't. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I have another wedding to go to. So we had to end. I was the reason. And I was like, you know what? If I have to end somebody's wedding, I'm doing something wrong.
John,
If I take a day gig, I won't take a night gig.
John, you were in the car business, right?
Yes.
Do you know what a hat trick is?
That's a
Do
3.
you remember what a hat trick is?
Same as hockey.
Yeah.
Doing 3 morning gig, afternoon gig, evening gig.
I've done it, but I can't remember anything about it. But I know I've done it.
Yeah, the day goes by in a blur.
Yeah.
You wake up the next day and tell me I was great.
I did one and I said, I'll never do this again.
Yeah.
And that was 15 years ago where I was a lot younger and healthier. And I was like, never again.
Yeah.
There's just too much on the line. And like I said, I stopped when I realized I had to tell a client no. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And I realized, like, I signed up to do this wedding and do it to the best of my ability. And I'm now turning business away because I wanted to book a second wedding down the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I felt like crap at the next wedding.
Yeah.
I think I told you guys, I think I took a photo on my controller. You know, as you know, XLR audio out is always a male. And XLR input for microphones is always a female.
Uh-huh.
Correct.
So when I had that 4-weekend wedding a few weeks ago or a couple months ago where I did a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I got to the Sunday wedding and I couldn't get the speakers to work. I got no audio. I had master output. I had channel. Everything was fine. I walked around. I had plugged the 2 speaker cables into the microphones and then plugged them out into the speaker. I'm like, maybe 4 weddings is too much for me. Maybe I should have
Spread the little fin. Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Well, I've already played that song, but not in this set.
Today?
Maybe.
Was it today I played that, or was it yesterday I
I
played that?
can't remember. It all blurs
Bride and
after a
groom- and
while.
I'm writing the bride and groom's name in Sharpie because I'm like, there's a good chance I could call them one of 4 names. I really don't want that.
Oh,
Big letters.
don't even say their name unless you're reading it off a piece of paper.
Oh, exactly. You
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I get that way if I'm doing like a Friday and a Saturday. I've got to just, you look at my timelines, I blow the font up and like crazy
Yeah.
on the name of whoever's getting married and how they want to be referred to as.
Yeah.
You know, not just their names, but, you know, Mr. and Mrs., you know, John and Sally Cowley. I got to do it that way.
Yeah.
Have to. Otherwise, I will screw it up.
And by the way, I'm sure you guys are not doing it this way, but this is probably one of the first years I've made a real concerted effort because I have a terrible habit of saying bride and groom. Like, hey, let's join the bride and groom. Let's join the bride and groom. Let's do this with the bride and groom.
I know. It's tough.
I've made such a concerted effort this year to only use first names, but it scares the crap out of me because I have to look every time. Even though I've memorized all the names, I've memorized what they're doing, I still get anxious when I have to throw names out. Even if it's in the middle of I'm like, I'll look over Caitlin and Blake. Yeah, Caitlin and Blake. Just because I think it gives that endearing touch.
It's a personal touch, and it's also a really great way to not cause any kind of awkward family discussions. Let's say if she's not taking his name and grandma doesn't understand why, well, let's just not even bring it up.
Exactly.
Yep. Instead of omission. Yep.
Yeah.
Balance is golden
Better.
sometimes.
Yep.
There's I can only think of good reasons to just go on a first name basis, unless they're adamantly like, okay, we are Mr. and Mrs., you know, Bob and Sally Brannon. Okay, fine. Then that's who you are tonight. But if there's anything a little different, let's not do that, because otherwise we cause some uncomfortable discussions. Something you don't want to talk about on your wedding day.
No.
Let's discuss this next week after you're back from your honeymoon.
What Jay had to say, just use the first names and you avoid all that because everybody already knows who they are if they were invited to the wedding.
Right. Oh, they should. They don't. They're wedding crashers.
The only time you need to make a concerted effort, and I learned this back in '97 when I did my first same-sex commitment ceremony, was my advice, having done 50 same-sex weddings, flip the names every time you use them. So if it's two men and it's Steve and John. Ladies and gentlemen, bringing in Steve and John. I'd like to ask John and Steve to make their way to the cake cutting. Now I'd like to invite Steve and John out to do this. Hey, guys, make some noise for John and Steve. Because what you're doing is you're not selling husband and wife anymore. Because there's people in the audience that are going to look at it as, which one's the wife?
Right.
Which one's the husband?
Unfortunately, there's people that think that way.
Equal billing.
What shocks me is when you sell this to the couple by saying, by the way, however I introduce you as newlyweds, because they're very comfortable with that, at least the ones I've done, I'll tell them, I'm going to flip your names every time. So I give you equal billing. So I don't give one priority to the other. And they're always really touched by that because it didn't dawn on them that there are people that are going to think one's more important than the other because the family dynamics can get in the way of things.
I think
Wouldn't that work for male and female as well?
Yes. And we've talked about this before in shows. I remember when my sister got married for the first time a long time ago. And we all, I mean, we really liked the guy she married. We loved him. His name was Victor. Now, probably not important, but that was my first real experience with a wedding reception because where I was from back in those days, you didn't really do that. You went to the church, you got married, you went to your parents' house and opened gifts afterwards. There wasn't a reception in my world with our income levels and things.
Very religious, Howie. Very, very religious. They do things differently.
Just what it was. So, my family actually was pretty religious, but the wedding reception was a lot of fun. But I remember everyone was saying Victor and Denise all night long. And that sounded so odd to us because we referred to them as Denise and Vic.
Right.
So it would have been cool, even with them, if somebody would have once in a while said Denise and Vic.
Well, I think that's changed too in the dynamics. And I've got to post it. I just shot a video on this. We introduce couples traditionally as husband and wife, but we talk about them, at least I do. I always talk about my couples as bride and groom, but yet the dynamic becomes, let me now introduce husband and wife because I'm doing Mr. and Mrs.
Right.
And it's just funny to me because this year more than ever before, my couples are now sending an email and I'm like, how do you want to be introduced? They're typing it. So they've seen it. 5 years ago, if you sent me an email saying, we're going to be introduced as Blanca, and Brian Red, I would point out, I would actually say, oh, okay, so you want to be introduced as wife and husband the first time. And they would go, oh, no, how do you normally do it? Oh, I normally do husband and wife, and then I can use first names and I can flip them or do whatever. But this year, more than ever, couples are coming back going like, we want to be introduced as Caitlin and Blake. I'm like, okay. Like, it's not my place to argue anymore. I'm not, the traditionalisms have kind of washed away a little bit.
Yeah, I noticed that with the wedding party too. First names. They want first names.
I do it where I live because everyone's either Polish, German, or Greek, and I'm going to screw the last names up.
Yeah, it's been that way for a few years.
Milwaukee, it's terrible.
15 syllables long.
It took me years to be able to say what Stevie's last name is now.
Say it now.
Karampolis? Is that correct?
Almost.
Okay, so yeah,
there you go. This is why Brian gets hired top dollar for 2 hours.
Pronounce all the tricky names.
Get the tricky names, and that's all he's there for. He is a linguist, that kid.
So yeah, I was like, please don't make me do this. And then it's great when I go to a wedding and it's like, okay, it's Mike and Stephanie and Jeff and Tracy. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Because I can never tell if it's Kylie or Kaylee or Callie or I don't know. It's confusing.
I have clients now when it gets crazy. when they send the names, because I say first names for the wedding party, I stopped even saying that's the trend.
By the way, you didn't sing song names for your son, so shame on you. You're part of the problem.
You don't think I regret that today when I call Connor Colin and Colin Connor half the time?
Jesus.
And I look at Michelle and she's like, why didn't this dawn on us? I'm like, that's
because you're stupid.
Yeah, apparently. Apparently I am, because it didn't dawn on me at the time. These are going to mess into each other.
My mom's neighbors' daughters are, was it Carly and Kaylee? Carly and Kaylee. I'm like, oh my God, this is like Jay's kids.
Yeah. Oh, I worked with two girls at one of the venues, Kylene and Caitlin. Same thing. And it's like 90% of the time, I just say, hey, how's it going? Because I can't remember who the hell's who. And I'm afraid to mispronounce something.
Yeah, he's going to write them out phonetically. K-A-Y, capital letters, small L-E-E.
John, check it out. So what I did was, and I'll tell you, I'm willing to admit this, and JC, you can laugh as much as you want. And I think I told some of you, but I'll tell the whole world now. I talked to my bride about 2 months ago. She had a name that was very Japanese, and I pronounced it perfectly. She gets on the phone, and I'm like, hi, is this Tomiko? She's like, yeah, oh, thank you so much for getting my name straight. I'm like, oh, no, I actually know a Tomiko because of my company. I've been to Japan. Oh, that's awesome, this and that. She goes, my fiance's here, too. I've never met them. I look over at the paper, Jaime. I'm like, hi, Jamie. So about 2 minutes into the conversation, she goes, so Jaime is going to want to do this thing. So I show up at the wedding. I meet Jaime. I meet the groomsmen. I start doing all this funk stuff during cocktail, and I was doing like my dive bar funk stuff, and his relatives were flipping. They're like, dude, SA over there, the DJ is awesome. They were loving it because like the two uncles in the black shirts, the hat with the jeans, with the goatee and the Modelo bottles, they wouldn't stop bouncing their heads. So I'm like, good, I got the family. So during dinner, he goes, bro, I can't thank you enough, man. My family loves you, this and that. And I go to turn away and walk away, and I turn back and I go, hey, let me ask you something. How freaked out were you thinking you hired the whitest DJ when I called you Jamie? And the two of them just busted out laughing. He goes, dude, I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, how doesn't he know it's Jaime? And I'm like, because I'm just a white guy from Boston, dude. I thought it was. I looked at busted on a stupid name with 5 letters. How scared do you think I am to call him?
I remember looking at Jorge for like a half an hour saying, how in the hell do you say this?
Hey, George.
Georgie? What? Hi, Georgie.
I just had one, and I called him Jorge. That was the same wedding. One of the grooms, and I entered it Jorje. So I go, hey, here they are, Kristen and Jorge. He gets up to give the toast. He goes, when he gets up, and I go, hey, best man Jorge. He comes up, he goes, hey, everybody, my name's George. And I look at him, I get the mic that way, and I go, dude, how are you getting George out of this? He goes, no, I go by George. I go, then spell that.
Right, then write that down.
Jamie? Mike, how stupid. You guys are never going to be on my review list, are you? The guy played great music, but he's an idiot.
He's a total idiot.
Can't say names.
So we got about 10 minutes left. And for the Canadian Broadcasting Company to give us our funding for this to be an actual cultural music show, we have to talk about music. So would you guys mind doing a music thing for like 10 minutes?
Sure.
So we can get our Canadian certification and stuff.
I'll do my best.
8-year-old came up the other night. This is a music thing. Walks up to me and says, can you play Doja Cat? And she says the word, and it's loud, so I think she's saying something else. But what she's saying is BITCH box. And I'm like, what? She goes, can you play? She must have said it 4 times, and the coordinator was behind me. And I go, will you ask her what she wants? And she goes, the coordinator comes back. She goes, she wants you to play BITCH box. She's like 8 years old. And she was sincere about it. No, yeah. But the point is this. I'm always like, Mr. I only play radio edits. I'm not going to offend anyone.
Right.
I'm starting to get more couples going, oh, that's cool, dude. That's cool if you play the swears. We're down. Are you guys seeing this new trend?
We've had this conversation.
Younger.
Right. Yes.
But yeah.
And I'm not the moral cop here. I'm a paid guy.
To play the swears.
Dude, I told you this 6 months ago, and you're like looking at me like I'm an idiot. And why would you do that? I'm like, because that's what they want. And you're like, I don't care. I'm a professional.
no,
I'll never, ever do it.
No. Then I'm the wrong DJ to hire because I'm not playing it.
Well, that's not what I wanted to talk about, actually. We can talk about that, but I was going to do something a little more lighthearted than a moral debate on whether we play bitch box or not at a wedding. By the way, bitch.
John's going to strike you down on that one.
No. Hold on a second. Rolling Stones has a song called Bitch. Elton John has a song called The Bitch Is Back.
Yeah. Meredith Brooks.
Bitch Girl by Hall & Oates clearly says it's a bitch girl.
Yeah.
This is not the end of the world to say that
Meredith,
word.
is it Brooks?
Yeah, Meredith Brooks.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, I bought that.
Fiona Apple.
I bought that CD for Stevie's mother as a gift.
Oh,
there
nice.
you go. Here's a bitch song for you. This is your theme song, and she liked it.
There you go.
Of course, there was no other songs on the CD worth a crap. It was just the bitch song. I was gonna just see if I could get you guys just as a thought exercise. Think about the first songs that you like.
John Cafferty and Beaver Brown. Oh, sorry.
Well, okay. Well, you were a little old for that.
Still the right answer.
Like thinking way back, way back. What are the first songs that you remember hearing and thinking to yourself, I like that? I know for Howie.
I know, and I bought the album,
Beethoven's Ninth?
No, it was the Beach Boys, Good Vibrations.
Great.
I love that theremin thing. I was like, I have never heard a sound like that ever in my life. And
you heard it in science fiction films, right?
Well, yeah, and I'm thinking,
but not in songs.
But not in a song, not melodically. And I was like, this is different. So,
and it was.
It was. And
revolutionary.
It was the very first album I bought.
The Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
That's the name of the album, kids.
My gosh.
Great stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Sort of a classic.
Yeah, it was just electric. One of them, yeah. And I was like, gotta go to Corvettes here. It was two guys from Corvettes. And it was a regional multi-department store, closed everything. But they had records because it was a discount store. It was always a couple of dollars cheaper than the other stores.
Sure.
So,
what about you, John? Can you think of a track that going back as far as you can remember, what's one of the first tracks?
Before I was able to tape a penny to a paper card and send it off in the mail to get my 12 records from Columbia House. I'm pre-FM, so we had AM stations that did a lot of smooth rock, and I remember hearing stuff like Gilbert O'Sullivan would come through with like "Alone Again Naturally,"
sure,
like Jim Croce, like that era of singer-songwriter stuff. And I just remember thinking it was really smooth, and sitting there on my floor, 5-6 years old, playing with my Legos, listening to pre-yacht rock, AM,
right,
AOR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and all that stuff was great. I still do. I still got a soft spot for that type of music.
Oh yeah.
What do you got, Jay? If you could think back,
Put the Grooves Out, playing Richard Harris, MacArthur's Park.
oh my gosh.
Wow.
My mother had that, and it was like first time I heard it. Just sat there listening to it over and over and over and over again. Still think that's one of the best songs ever. And you know who wrote it? Interestingly enough, Jimmy Webb, same guy that wrote one of my favorite Glenn Campbell song of all time, Wichita Lineman.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote both.
Steve Slick is chiming in, and he's saying for him, Otis Redding, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay.
Classic.
Oh, I remember hearing that on the AM radio. Yeah. I had a little 8 transistor, because the more transistors means it was a better radio.
I was running around before I came here and sat down here at the desk, and I was in the parking lot. I don't know why this popped in my head. It's one of those, I don't know, kind of repressed memory, if you will. All of a sudden I remembered this, and I got to look up what year it is, because I remember being tiny and losing it when I heard John Denver's Sunshine on My Shoulders. I thought that was the coolest song. Like,
It's a great song.
melodically, it was a really nice song.
Somewhere at
It's
73.
Very pretty. Very pretty.
Like 73.
I mean, there are a lot of other songs I remember, but I'd forgotten that I really enjoyed that song.
Yeah.
Because when you think of John Denver, you just kind of think
Country Roads.
Rocky Mountain High or Country Roads or Annie's Song or something. But Sunshine on My Shoulders was
Or
like
Plane Crash. Oh, wait, too soon?
Yeah, too soon.
Way too soon.
all right, Howie, you can go again. We've got time. Think of an early track you liked.
Early track I really liked that I bought on sale would be but wasn't I bought the whole album, Rubber Soul, the Beatles.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
John?
Back in the day before when television used to go to sleep at night and wouldn't be on for 24 hours.
Test patterns.
I would be up in the morning with my bowl of unfrosted flakes. And,
Cheap parents.
well, I don't think they were invented yet.
Who needs teeth?
It was the train they call the City of New Orleans would always be Channel 56's startup song right after American Beautiful every morning. So I kind of eventually learned the lyrics to it at about 7 years old. I would hear it every day. I was sitting there going to school. So that's ingrained in my head. So
Gilbert O'Sullivan and Arlo Guthrie.
A little 13-inch black and white TV sitting on top of the fridge because that's where you put it.
We usually had ours on top of the broken 20-inch console, or
the bigger TV that
18-inch console that doesn't work anymore. That's what ours was like.
That was going with the house when you sold it because no one could move it.
Jay and I lived in different neighborhoods.
That's furniture. It just belongs there.
Jay, what do you got?
Anything off of Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass.
Whipped cream and other delights.
Yeah. Whipped cream. I had bought that.
Actually, that and probably Bridge Over Troubled Water. Those just were albums that were in the house in the early 70s. But I'm the same way. When I was 6, I got a little red AM radio, and we had RKO, which at the time was like an FM station, but it was AM.
Sure.
So all those tracks. I mean, and I had an 8. I wasn't kidding the other night. I had the 8-track. My dad had it, I think, or my mom, of Gilbert O'Sullivan. And I would listen to Claire and Alone Again naturally. And that's where I learned how to go through the 4 programs on an 8-track. Because you'd either let it play through or go to the next program, but it wouldn't move the tracks forward. It was... You kids have no idea how complex it was to live in our day.
I know, you couldn't stick a pencil in and rewind it.
No.
That thing still confuses the hell out of me. I still don't know how that worked. Or why it worked that way, or why that was even a thing. I still don't get it.
I don't either, but I just remember, like, I had an 8-track of Ronco, Catel, and Peg was on it, and so was Meatloaf 2 out of 3, but they were on different sections.
Right.
I would have to sit there and strategically keep clicking
to get
to try to
the start of the right song. Yep.
There was no way to find a song.
You couldn't rewind it.
Torturous thing.
It was playthrough only.
You know what?
You could just drop a needle. These were like, where the hell is my song?
I'll throw another one out there that was a little later, but I was still young. I was probably 6 or 7. But the Babies, Every Time I Think of You, blew my mind.
Oh my God.
Blew my mind.
Great song.
Ooh. Good.
John Waite. That was amazing.
Great voice.
Good.
And then I discovered, Isn't It Time after that. I don't know why I did that in that order, but I did.
Right.
And just loved the Babies. But to your point, Jay, I remember my experience with 8-tracks when I was young, because, the older siblings had them. So I always had something to listen to.
Right.
And we had a copy of Edgar Winter Group. They only come out at night.
Frankenstein.
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 That song is so long. When the little break comes in there.
Oh, go to the next section.
It goes. It sounds like chiggers or something, or locusts.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it clicked.
Yeah.
And it would turn down, click, and then go back up, and you'd have the second part of the song on the second track of the 8-track.
That's awesome.
And that was annoying.
But by the way, quick Babies trivia. Any other members you know of from the Babies that went on to do something big in music besides John Waite?
No.
The keyboard player is a young man named Jonathan Cain.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, he's with
Journey.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't Stop Believing.
That's right. The keyboard player, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that band. I saw them on Burt Sugarman's Midnight Special.
Yeah.
And they did Every Time I Think of You. And what was the other big one?
They had Head First. Was a big one. Yep. That was the flip side of Every Time I Think of You, by the way.
There's another one, too. There was another single.
There's Isn't It Time?
Isn't It Time?
Yeah.
And they did that. They may have done 3. It was either Burt Sugarman's or it was Don Kirshner's rock concert. It was one of those.
Well, I know that they were on Midnight Special because I've seen YouTube videos of Midnight Special of them.
Yeah, they were great. I was like, these guys, his voice is so cool.
I've mentioned this in shows before, since we're stuck on the babies now, where and you can hear it in the music, because that's a British band. And they were signed by Crystals, I believe. And they were brought over to Los Angeles to record their first album. And they spent a year doing it. And the whole time they're like really immersing themselves in Los Angeles culture. And it totally changed their sound.
Yeah.
Like they were influenced so much by American. Like they were sounding like over in England, the band that was signed really wasn't the same artistic interpretation of what the first album was. It was better. If that makes any sense to you.
No, it totally does.
And if you listen to
American too, I wonder if he was with the band over there or if they picked him up over here, because he's from
I don't know, but I know
John Waite's from there, because I've seen John Waite live and he has the accent.
Yeah, but it's just interesting how if you really listen to it, you can hear both influences. I can. If I think about totally British bands and I think about, especially the West Coast,
They always, for some reason, I always got a little Climax blues out of them. Not a blues thing, but just some of their approach. Maybe it was just that period of music, like
and then over in England, I don't know if it's regional, but I believe Climax Blues Band, and someone's going to come in the comment section and say, "No, that's not right." I think they're Midlands.
They could be.
They're somewhere in the Midlands. So, okay, it's not Birmingham, but it's like that. It's somewhere in the Midlands.
Right.
And there's a certain thing that happens there that doesn't happen in, let's say, Manchester or London. They're not that far apart, but they might as well be worlds apart.
Right.
Because, I mean, as John knows, living in Boston, 5 miles away, they speak differently.
Mm-hmm.
So culturally and musically, they're different when it goes to different parts of the country.
Brian Johnson, AC/DC, he's Midlands.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, geez. Like, if you're talking about, like, Birmingham, geez, you got Ozzy Osbourne, Duran Duran, Bananarama.
The Smiths.
There's tons of... Well, I don't know about Def Leppard. I don't know about the Smiths.
Yeah, Def Leppard's Birmingham.
Sheffield, England.
Oh, Sheffield. I'm thinking... where's Judas Priest? Are they Birmingham or are they Manchester? No, they're Birmingham, I believe.
I think Birmingham.
Priest is Birmingham, I believe. Manchester is the Smiths, Stone Roses.
Yeah, that's like your New Order. That's all your factory record stuff, and then London.
But I think Sheffield's in that area, kind of like saying Boston and Framingham.
Suburb.
Sort of. Yeah.
I don't. That doesn't.
We're going to get a lot of kickback.
Yeah, we're going to learn your geography, DJs. Come on,
UK crowd we have.
That's right.
He's going to be mad this week, and he's going to comment. I can feel it.
Well, maybe I could save it.
You guys, it's not like that at all.
No. I'm thinking I can truthfully say that when I bought the Rolling Stones, first greatest hits was Hot Rocks, and it was from E.J. Corvette's department store. I'm
pretty confident they're like a more of a London-based kind of thing, those guys.
Well, in my mind, I bought it at E.J. Corvette's department store.
They're from the department store.
They're from the department store.
Yeah. And the babies are from the drugstore that I bought the 45 at.
And if you wait long enough for Columbia Records to show up.
Some band is from Battle Creek, Michigan, because John got a 45 on the back of a box of cereals.
Oh, yeah. They get the Jackson 5 one. Yeah,
Battle Creek,
Michigan. On the,
they're not from Detroit. Boxes. They're from Michigan. Well, Battle Creek, not the Detroit area.
And they actually played about 4 or 5 times before they wouldn't play anywhere.
I heard someone talk about using actual acetate, a DJ that was a DJ in the 60s. And they would send you a single that was on acetate. And he's like, if we could get 20 plays out of it, we were lucky. And they just pretty much disintegrate. He's like, and if it was a big enough hit, we had to really, really be cautious with it and not overplay it. So we could get a jump on other radio stations because you could physically hear it start to degrade.
I mean, why bother, buying a copy of it or perhaps putting it on reel to reel so you can play it over and over again? which were all technologies available in radio stations.
No, they were. But he's like, this is how they were delivered. They were delivered on these cheap acetates that would literally disintegrate after a few tries.
Wow.
And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, we could probably get 20 plays out of it.
Back in Howie's day, they just sent a stagecoach full of the band members themselves.
Yeah, they sent a band.
Yeah, the whole band. Yeah.
The band to just show up.
I thought it was that thing with the bird and his beak on the vinyl.
Oh, that was the Flintstones.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That was after you. I'm so sorry.
See,
That's modern technology.
that's 60s. Yeah,
Now, before we start having fun, we should probably put a fork in this.
I agree.
I've got to run this kid home and roll my windows up in the car before it rains.
Rain?
So,
I remember rain.
Yeah, I know. Was it Callan
103 here today, by the way.
was like freaking out. Oh my God, it's rain. It's beautiful. Look at rainbow. I'm like, it's rain. It's rain.
Mortal enemy of a DJ.
Oh my God, thunder, lightning. This is so cool. I'm like, okay.
People get out of prison, Brian. They treat things differently sometimes. I don't.
There's first world problems and there's Cali problems.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week if you're lucky.